What if the deepest wound you carry was not caused by a stranger, but by someone who once held your hand as a child, someone who shares your blood, your home, your history? That kind of betrayal hits differently. It cuts deeper, because it was not supposed to happen. From the moment we are born, we are told that family is forever. That blood is thicker than water. That siblings are our built-in best friends. But what happens when that bond turns into a battlefield? When the one who was meant to protect you is the one who poisons you silently? Sibling betrayal is one of the most silent forms of pain. You do not scream about it. You do not even talk about it. You bury it, rationalize it, excuse it because they are family. You are taught to endure, to forgive without limits, to keep peace even when it costs your dignity. But Stoic philosophy teaches us a different kind of strength. It does not tell us to hate or to seek revenge. It teaches us to see things as they are, to strip away illusions and honor our own truth. Stoicism is not about cutting people off in anger. It is about protecting your peace with reason. It is about recognizing when someone, even a sibling, has crossed the line that should not be crossed. As Epictetus once said, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And sometimes the right reaction is not reconciliation, but removal. This video is not about bitterness. It is about clarity. It is about naming the 7 betrayals from siblings that you should never forgive, not because you are cruel, but because you finally love yourself enough to stop bleeding for people who keep cutting you. These are not just mistakes. These are patterns. They leave scars that shape your self-worth, your relationships, your future. And unless you face them, they will continue to define you. So let us begin. 7 betrayals. 7 lines that once crossed must not be erased. Betrayal 1, undermining you behind closed doors. Sometimes betrayal is not loud. It does not come with yelling or slamming doors. It happens quietly, behind your back, in whispers that echo for years. One of the deepest betrayals from a sibling is when they pretend to support you on the surface, but secretly speak against you when you are not there. They smile with you at the dinner table. They nod when you share your dreams. But when the moment comes, they undermine you in front of the people who matter most. They talk to your parents about your failures, twist your words, and plant doubts. They poison the well while pretending to offer you water. It is especially cruel because the damage is invisible. You cannot prove it, but you feel it. You notice your parents start looking at you differently. They question your choices, your values, your worth, and you wonder why. Until one day you hear it slip from their mouths. A phrase you never said, a story you never told them, a version of you that only your sibling could have created. This betrayal breaks the foundation of trust in a family. Because you were taught that no matter what happens out there in the world, your sibling is your ally. But now they have become your silent rival. Not in open competition, but in secret sabotage. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Chris who had always struggled with his father's approval. He tried hard, worked late, supported the family. But nothing seemed enough. One day he found out that his younger brother, the one who always called him a role model to his face, had been telling their father that Chris was irresponsible with money, that he made poor decisions, that he was not fit to handle the family business. Chris had never suspected it. But once he knew, it all made sense. The tension, the judgment, the cold distance. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The tongue of a traitor is sharper than any dagger." Words spoken behind closed doors can destroy reputations, fracture bonds, and cause a lifetime of misunderstanding. And when it comes from a sibling, the wound is far more personal. The takeaway is simple. If someone smiles at you but stabs you when you turn around, you owe them nothing. Family title or not, trust is earned, not inherited. Silence in the face of betrayal is not noble. It is self-betrayal. You must protect your name. You must protect your truth. And most importantly, you must protect your peace. No relationship is worth losing your self-respect. Forgiveness does not mean keeping the door open. Sometimes the door must close so that you can finally breathe. But what if the betrayal does not come in words spoken behind your back, but in the way they respond to your victories? What if the damage comes not from silence, but from resentment disguised as a vice? Betrayal 2, sabotaging your success. Success is supposed to be celebrated, especially within a family. When one sibling rises, the others should feel proud, inspired, and connected through that victory. But what happens when your success becomes a threat to your sibling? What happens when your growth makes them shrink in insecurity? One of the most painful betrayals is when a sibling cannot stand to see you win. Instead of clapping for you, they compete. Instead of encouraging you, they criticize. And they do it not with direct attacks, but with disguised jabs. They say things like you got lucky, or you are changing too much, or you think you are better than everyone now. But what they are really saying is that they cannot handle your growth. This kind of betrayal is subtle. It is covered in jokes, sarcasm, and passive comments. But the message is clear. They do not want to see you shine unless they are shining too. Your light bothers them. Your progress exposes their stagnation, so they try to pull you back, not to help you, but to keep you from rising higher than them. Let me give you a real example. A woman named Amanda worked for years to build her career. She finally got promoted to a leadership role in her company. Her parents were proud, her friends cheered for her, but her older sister only gave a half smile and said, "Just do not let it get to your head." Then, behind Amanda's back, she told their family that Amanda was becoming arrogant and too focused on money. The same sister who had borrowed money from her more than once now acted like her success was something to be ashamed of. This betrayal is not about money or titles. It is about emotional security. A sibling who feels small in their own eyes cannot celebrate others. And when you succeed, they feel abandoned by their own potential. Instead of doing the inner work, they try to diminish yours. Inspired by the Stoic ethos, remember this truth. If others cannot rejoice in your growth, their presence is not growth for you. People who truly love you do not fear your success. They grow with you. They walk beside you. They hold space for your wins without making it about their wounds. The takeaway here is firm. Your success is not something to hide. It is not something to apologize for. And it is never something to shrink for the comfort of those who refuse to rise. You do not need to fight them. Just keep growing. Keep walking forward. And let their bitterness become background noise. You do not owe anyone an apology for becoming who you were meant to be. Betrayal 3. Using shared history as leverage. There is something sacred about childhood memories. The inside jokes, the quiet moments, the secrets shared in trust. But sometimes a sibling will take that shared past and twist it into a weapon. What once bonded you now becomes a tool of manipulation. They remind you of your past mistakes, not to help you grow, but to keep you small. They bring up things you said or did years ago to shame you into obedience today. And because it is family, you hesitate. You feel guilty. You feel like you owe them something. But what you really owe is yourself. You owe yourself freedom from the past you have already outgrown. This betrayal often looks like emotional blackmail. Your sibling might say things like, "Remember when I covered for you?" Or, "If I told Mum what really happened back then." They use your past like a leash, yanking you back every time you try to move forward. And the worst part is, they do it with a smile, pretending it is just a memory, just a joke, just family stuff. But it is not. It is control. Let me tell you a story. David had an older brother who knew everything about his childhood struggles. When David became financially successful, his brother would always say things like, "Remember when you had nothing," or "Do not forget who helped you back then." And every time David hesitated to give him money, the brother would bring up the past. Not with love, but with leverage. David realized that his success was no longer his own. It was being held hostage by someone who refused to see him as the man he had become. Stoic philosophy reminds us of a powerful truth. No man is the same man he was yesterday. Do not chain someone to his past, and that includes yourself. You have the right to grow. You have the right to evolve. You have the right to move beyond the version of you that others still cling to. If someone constantly pulls you back into old guilt to control your present, they are not honoring your shared history. They are weaponizing it. The takeaway is this: you are not bound to who you used to be. And anyone who uses your past to manipulate your present does not deserve a seat at your future. Let them hold on to the old story. You are busy writing a new one that is not defined by guilt, but by growth. And when they cannot control you in private, they often try to humiliate you in public. Betrayal 4. Publicly humiliating you. There is a kind of betrayal that does not hide in shadows. It happens in front of others, under the disguise of humor or honesty. A sibling who publicly humiliates you is not just crossing a line. They are teaching others how to disrespect you too. They take something private, something painful, something you trusted them with, and turn it into entertainment. They share embarrassing stories at family gatherings. They mock your fears or failures in front of people you care about. They laugh while you shrink. And they expect you to laugh too, to prove you are not sensitive, to keep the peace. But there is nothing funny about being made into a joke, especially by someone who knows your scars, someone who promised, even silently, to protect them. This kind of humiliation often comes masked as love. They say things like, "I am just joking," or "You know I love you." But love does not seek applause at your expense. Love does not put you down to lift itself up. Let me tell you a story. Laura was dating someone she really cared about. At a family barbecue, her younger brother made a loud joke about how she used to cry over her ex for months and begged him to come back. Everyone laughed. Laura froze. She had trusted her brother with that memory during one of her lowest moments, and now it was being used as comedy. Later, when she confronted him, he rolled his eyes and said, "Lighten up, it was just a joke." But it was not just a joke. It was a betrayal. Epictetus once said, "The man who laughs at your wounds does not deserve a place in your life." Public humiliation is not harmless. It chips away at your confidence. It creates shame. It teaches others that your pain is something to mock. The takeaway is clear. Anyone who takes your vulnerability and uses it for laughs does not respect you. And if they do not respect you, you are not required to keep entertaining their presence. You can forgive and still walk away. You can love someone from a distance that protects your dignity. Family does not excuse cruelty, and shared blood does not justify public shame. You deserve relationships that honor your truth, not exploit it. You deserve to be safe, even at the dinner table. Betrayal 5. Emotional absence when you needed them most. Not all betrayals come from actions. Some come from silence. Some come from the empty space where support should have been. And few things hurt more than realizing that your sibling was not there when you needed them the most. You were in pain. You were struggling. You were facing something that shook your world. And while you were not asking for a miracle, you were hoping for a message. A call. A simple "How are you holding up?" But it never came. They disappeared. Not physically, but emotionally. They went quiet when your world was falling apart. This kind of betrayal is difficult to explain to others, because technically your sibling did nothing wrong. They did not attack you. They did not lie about you. They simply were not there. But that absence, that void, is louder than any insult. Let me tell you a story. Jason lost his job after working for 15 years at the same company. Around the same time, his relationship ended, and he fell into a deep depression. His sister, who lived just 20 minutes away, never reached out. Not a single word. When he eventually recovered and asked her why she stayed silent, she said, "I figured you needed space." But Jason did not need space. He needed someone who cared enough to show up. Seneca once said, "Adversity does not build character. It reveals it." When you go through hardship, you learn very quickly who truly stands with you. And sometimes the silence of a sibling tells you everything you need to know. Emotional absence is not neutral. It leaves a mark. It teaches you that your pain is not important to those who should care most. And it makes the wound deeper, because you are not just facing your struggle alone. You are also facing the truth that the people you counted on have chosen not to count you in. The takeaway is this: you cannot force people to care, and you should not keep people close just because they share your blood. Love is not proven by words spoken on good days. It is shown through presence on the hard days. Do not chase emotional ghosts. Do not explain your pain to those who were never listening. Focus on those who show up, even when it is inconvenient. Because those are the people who deserve to stay in your life. The rest are just visitors passing through the quiet. Sometimes absence is not the only burden. Presence, when it comes with expectations you never chose, can be just as heavy. Betrayal 6. Forcing you into family roles that do not serve you. Sometimes betrayal does not come in harsh words or cruel actions. It comes in expectations, in silent agreements that you never signed but are still held to. One of the deepest betrayals from a sibling is forcing you into a role within the family that drains you, traps you, and slowly makes you disappear. Maybe you are the caretaker, the fixer, the one who always says yes. Maybe you are the quiet one, the strong one, the one who sacrifices so everyone else can breathe. But have you ever asked yourself who decided that was your role? Did you choose it, or were you assigned it? Siblings often reinforce these roles. They expect you to always pick up the phone, to always give money, to always be the one who holds the family together. And when you try to step back, when you ask for space or say no, they call you selfish. They say you have changed. But what they really mean is that you are no longer making their life easier at the expense of your own. Let me tell you a story. Marcus was the eldest son in his family. His younger siblings expected him to help financially, emotionally, and even mediate conflicts between their parents. For years, he played that role. But when he hit burnout and said he needed to take care of his own mental health, his siblings accused him of abandoning the family. They said things like, "You have always been the strong one, and if you do not help, who will?" That was not love. That was entitlement. Stoic philosophy teaches us to live in accordance with reason, not obligation. You are not born to serve roles others assign to you. You are born to live as a free and rational being. And sometimes living freely means disappointing the expectations that were never yours to carry. The takeaway is this: family roles are not destiny. They are choices. And if a role causes you pain, exhaustion, or self-neglect, you have every right to walk away from it. That does not make you unloving. It makes you honest. You do not have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You do not have to be everything to everyone. It is not your duty to carry the emotional weight of a family that refuses to share the load. Step out of the role. Step into your truth. And let those who love you learn to meet you there. Betrayal 7. Competing for parental favor at your expense. There is a quiet war that happens in some families. It is not about love. It is about approval. When a sibling turns that desire for parental praise into a competition, they often do not just try to rise on their own. They push you down to get there. This betrayal can be hard to spot at first. It may look like simple achievement or confidence, but slowly patterns emerge. They twist stories to make themselves look better. They highlight your flaws in subtle ways during conversations with your parents. They bring up your past mistakes right before sharing their newest success. They position themselves as the responsible one, the loyal one, the one who deserves more attention. What makes this betrayal so painful is that it poisons the relationship between you and your parents too. You start to feel like you are being measured against someone who is manipulating the scale. You are not being seen for who you are. You are being compared to a version of your sibling that has been carefully crafted and rehearsed. Let me tell you a story. Jenna had always been close to her mother. But when her older sister started visiting more often, bringing gifts and helping around the house, things began to change. The sister would say things like, "I just worry about Jenna sometimes," or "I wish she were more stable like when she was younger." These comments seemed innocent, but they slowly shifted her mother's perception. Jenna found herself constantly explaining and defending her life. Eventually, she realized she was not being seen clearly anymore. She was being seen through the lens her sister had created. Stoic wisdom reminds us that the wise man seeks truth, not approval. When someone is willing to distort truth just to win favor, they are no longer acting in love. They are acting in fear. Fear of being unseen. Fear of not being the favorite. And in that fear, they are willing to sacrifice the bond you share. The takeaway is simple. You should not have to compete for the love of your parents. And if a sibling uses you as a stepping stone to elevate themselves, they have already chosen pride over connection. You cannot control how others present you, but you can control whether you keep allowing it. Walk in truth. Speak clearly. And let your actions define you, not their performance. You do not need to be the favorite. You need to be free. Conclusion. These 7 betrayals are not loud. They are not always violent. But they leave deep marks. Because when the hurt comes from a sibling, it is not just pain. It is confusion. It is heartbreak mixed with history. It is silence that echoes for years, undermining you behind closed doors, sabotaging your success. using your shared past as a tool to control you, publicly humiliating you, disappearing emotionally when you needed them most, forcing you into roles that slowly kill your spirit, competing for love by turning others against you. These are not simple mistakes. They are betrayals in disguise. Some people will tell you to forgive and forget, but forgiveness without boundaries is just permission. You are not cruel for protecting your peace. You are not bitter for walking away. You are not heartless for finally choosing yourself. Stoic philosophy does not tell us to hate our siblings. It tells us to see clearly, to remove emotion from the decision and examine the truth. If someone repeatedly harms you, that is not love. That is not loyalty. And it is not something you are obligated to accept just because you share the same blood. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. What you allow into your life shapes your spirit. If you continue to tolerate betrayal, it will shape you into someone full of resentment. But if you choose clarity, boundaries, and truth, you shape yourself into someone free. You did not choose the family you were born into, but you do choose who gets to stay in your life. You choose whose voices matter. You choose what kind of peace you want to build. So let this be the moment you draw the line. Let this be the moment you stop making excuses for pain that wears a familiar face. Now I want to hear from you. Have you experienced any of these betrayals from a sibling? How did you handle it? What did you learn? Share your story in the comments. Someone out there needs to hear it. Like this video if it spoke to something inside you. And subscribe for more stoic wisdom to help you protect your peace and rebuild your strength. You deserve calm. You deserve clarity. You deserve connection that does not come at the cost of your dignity. Let that be your standard from this moment forward. Because peace is not something you beg for. It is something you build. And sometimes that starts by saying enough.